Imagine discovering that the people closest to you only care about your wealth, not your life. Leonard Harrington was a man with everything except the truth about his family's love. So he faked his illness, and what he uncovered shook his soul. The grandfather clock in the Harrington mansion struck 9 p.m. The low, heavy chimes echoed through the paneled hallways, bouncing off crystal chandeliers and polished mahogany floors. Outside, the oaks swayed against the Charleston night, their branches creaking in the sea breeze. Upstairs in the study, Leonard Harrington sat alone in a leather wingback chair. At 72, he looked every inch the Southern patriarch, tall, broad-shouldered, despite his years, with silver hair combed back neatly. Yet the lines etched deep around his eyes told another story: fatigue, disappointment, regret. On the wall hung a grand portrait painted 15 years earlier, back when Evelyn, his wife, still smiled at him with warmth, back when their 3 eldest children stood proudly in the frame without resentment or greed hiding behind their polished faces. Only Lily, his youngest, had the same softness then as she did now. Leonard leaned forward, elbows on his knees, staring at the faces in the portrait. His chest rose with a sigh. "Which of you really loves me?" he muttered. "When I am gone, who will mourn? Who will care while I'm still breathing?" His gaze lingered on Evelyn's painted smile. In reality, she hadn't looked at him that way in years. Her life was luncheons, spa appointments, and charity galas, more for show than for love. Charles, the eldest at 41, was power-hungry and restless, circling like a hawk over the family empire. Nathan, 38, had talent, but squandered it in gambling and get-rich-quick schemes. Vanessa, 35, had beauty and charisma, but cared more about her Instagram followers than her father's health. Only Lily, 26, gentle and unambitious in material things, still brewed tea for him every night, still sat on the porch and listened to his stories about the old days. She was the only one who ever asked, "Daddy, how are you feeling?" and waited for the answer. Leonard rubbed his temples. He had given them everything: wealth, comfort, reputation. Yet in his gut, he knew, if he collapsed tomorrow, the others would fight like vultures over his body before it was cold. That thought hardened his jaw. "Enough guessing," he whispered. "I'll know the truth." He reached for the phone on his desk and dialed 2 numbers. By midnight, headlights cut across the driveway. Henry Collins, his lawyer of 30 years, climbed the marble steps with a leather briefcase in hand. Not long after, Dr. Robert Gaines arrived, his medical bag swinging at his side. Both men entered the study quietly, nodding respectfully. "Leonard," Henry said, setting down his case. "You sounded urgent." Leonard gestured for them to sit. His voice was low, steady, almost conspiratorial. "I want to stage an illness." Dr. Gaines blinked. "Stage?" "Yes. I want to pretend I am dying. I want to see who in this family truly loves me and who is simply waiting for my funeral." Silence filled the room. The clock ticked loudly in the background. Henry finally spoke. "That's unconventional, but perhaps wise. You'll need protection, though. If Charles or Nathan believe you're slipping, they'll strip the company bare. I can move half your liquid assets into a private trust, out of their reach." Leonard's lips curved into a grim smile. "Good. Do it. Let them reveal themselves." Dr. Gaines hesitated, folding his hands. "And you want me to deliver the news?" Leonard nodded. "Tell them I have late-stage cancer, 6 months left, perhaps less. They'll believe you. You've been my doctor for decades." The physician sighed. "This will cause pain." "Pain is already here," Leonard replied. "At least now I'll know who bleeds for me and who counts my wealth." Henry and Dr. Gaines exchanged glances, then slowly nodded. "Very well, Doctor," Gaines said. "The performance begins tomorrow." The next morning, Leonard descended to breakfast slower than usual, handkerchief in pocket. When Lily greeted him with her usual smile, he forced a cough, a long, rattling sound that made her rush forward. "Daddy, are you all right?" "I'm fine, Lily. Just a tickle in my throat." But the coughs came harder, shaking his frame. His handkerchief pressed to his mouth came away stained with red wine he had dabbed earlier to mimic blood. Evelyn shrieked, calling for the house staff. "Within an hour, Doctor?" Gaines was summoned. The family gathered in the great room, tension hanging like a storm cloud. Charles stood tall, arms crossed. Nathan fidgeted with his phone. Vanessa adjusted her curls and glanced at her reflection in the glass cabinet. Lily hovered beside her father, clutching his hand. Dr. Gaines performed his staged examination, then turned solemnly. "I'm afraid the news is grave. Leonard has advanced cancer, 6 months at best." Gasps erupted. Evelyn collapsed back into her chair, hand to chest. Vanessa let out a theatrical sob. Nathan muttered, "No, not Dad." But only Lily sank to her knees beside him. "No, Daddy. We'll find help. We'll fight. Please don't give up." Leonard, feigning weakness, brushed her hair back gently. Inside, though, his heart ached, not from illness, but from the quiet certainty that the storm had begun. And soon, he thought, the truth will show itself. The Harrington great room smelled faintly of cedar and polish, the morning sun pouring through tall French windows. But instead of warmth, the air felt heavy, like the house itself had taken in Dr. Gaines's grim words. Evelyn sat with her hand pressed dramatically to her chest. Vanessa dabbed at her eyes with a silk scarf, snapping a discreet selfie when she thought no one was watching. Charles stood by the fireplace, his face unreadable, while Nathan paced near the bar cart, pouring himself a quick whiskey despite the early hour. Leonard sat slouched in his armchair, a wool blanket tucked over his legs. His cough, forced but convincing, rattled the room into silence. Dr. Gaines's voice dropped solemnly. "I'm sorry, it's stage 4. The treatments would only prolong pain. 6 months, perhaps a year, if we're fortunate." "No!" Lily cried out. She clutched her father's hand with both of hers, her knuckles white. "Daddy, we can't just give up. Johns Hopkins, Mayo Clinic, there has to be something." Evelyn turned, her voice sharp but trembling. "Lily, don't be naive. If Robert says it's hopeless, then it's hopeless." "But he's not hopeless," Lily shot back. "He's sitting right here." Charles finally spoke, his tone clipped. "We should focus on what Dad wants. Comfort, peace. If he only has 6 months—" His eyes flicked briefly toward the study door, the one leading to Leonard's private office, where safes and documents were kept. "Then we need to make sure his affairs are in order." Leonard hid his reaction, his face carefully blank. So soon, he thought. The wolves are already sniffing at the door. Nathan gulped his drink. 6 months isn't long. Dad, if there's anything you've always wanted to do, say it now. A world trip? Bucket list? We'll make it happen." "That's easy for you to say," Vanessa muttered, scrolling on her phone. "Do you know how much those things cost? I swear you're always dreaming, Nathan." "Better dreaming than selling his soul on Instagram," Nathan snapped back. "Stop it, both of you." Lily's voice cracked as she stood, tears glistening. "Daddy is sick. This is not about money or vacations or followers. It's about being here for him." For a fleeting second, Leonard's chest warmed. Lily's sincerity glowed like sunlight through storm clouds. But the others? Their words? Their glances? They weren't mourning him. They were calculating. For the next few days, the Harrington house became a stage play of compassion. Evelyn made appearances in his room, dabbing his forehead with lavender-scented cloths. "You must drink this broth," she'd say, though her eyes rarely lingered on him for more than a minute before her phone buzzed and she excused herself. Charles began visiting daily, always with paperwork. "Dad, just sign this. It'll make things easier for everyone." He spoke with an oily politeness, but Leonard noticed how his son's hand shook slightly each time he slid a contract across the bedside table. Nathan hovered restlessly, suggesting adventures and snapping photos of the mansion to show friends how much heritage he was about to inherit. He once leaned over Leonard and whispered, "Don't worry, Dad. I'll take good care of everything when you're gone." Vanessa, meanwhile, live-streamed a video titled, "When Illness Strikes the Strongest Man I Know." Her crocodile tears earned thousands of likes. She signed off with, "Love you, Daddy," blowing a kiss to her phone before rushing out to meet friends for brunch. But only Lily stayed. She brushed his thinning silver hair, fluffed his pillows, read him poetry, even rubbed his hands with lotion when his skin looked dry. At night, when everyone else retreated to their corners, she curled up in the chair beside his bed, whispering, "Don't worry, Daddy. I'm here." By the second week, the masks began to slip. Evelyn stopped visiting his room altogether. "It's too painful," she told the staff. "I can't bear to see him fade." Instead, she spent her days at the spa and her evenings with friends, her laughter echoing down hallways Leonard could still hear. Charles grew bolder. One afternoon he entered the study, documents in hand. "Dad," he said briskly, "it's time we discussed succession. The board is restless. Investors are nervous. You should let me take over Harrington Enterprises now, before things spiral." Leonard feigned a weak smile. "If that is what you think best, Charles." Inside, though, his heart sank. Not even 3 weeks, and already he crowns himself king. Nathan claimed urgent business trips, vanishing for days. Word reached Leonard through loyal staff that Nathan was gambling heavily in Las Vegas. The thought stung. His son wasn't preparing for a future without him. He was burning through the present, as if his father were already buried. Vanessa hardly pretended anymore. She returned from Miami with new shopping bags, laughing into her phone. When Lily confronted her, "How can you go on vacation when Daddy is ill?" Vanessa rolled her eyes. "What do you want me to do? Sit by his bed and watch him cough? That won't cure him." One evening, Leonard lay sleeping as Lily entered with a tray of chamomile tea. Her face was drawn, her eyes red from weeping. She sat on the edge of his bed, taking his hand. "Daddy," she whispered, "let me take you to Baltimore. Johns Hopkins has specialists. We could try. We could fight this." Her words trembled with hope. But before Leonard could answer, Evelyn's sharp voice cut from the doorway. "Absolutely not. We're not wasting money on false hope." "Mom!" Lily stood outraged. "How can you say that? He deserves a chance." Evelyn folded her arms, jeweled bracelets jingling. "I'm being practical. Do you want him to die in some sterile hospital hundreds of miles away? We'll spend a fortune only to bring back a body. No, Lily, he stays here." Leonard, still pretending to sleep, felt his heart clench. Evelyn, the woman he once loved with fiery passion, had turned ice cold. Her words were knives, but worse was the indifference in her tone. Lily sat back down, her tears spilling onto her father's hand. "Don't listen to her, Daddy," she whispered. "Even if no one else believes, I'll fight for you." That night, long after the house fell silent, Leonard lay awake. The faint sound of laughter drifted from the lower floors, Charles throwing another dinner party in his absence. The clink of glasses, the thrum of music, the shallow laughter of strangers filled the halls of the mansion he had built with sweat and sacrifice. He stared at the ceiling and whispered to himself, "Is this how my life ends? Surrounded by vultures, not family?" A tear slid down his temple into the pillow, but then he turned his head slightly. There, curled in the armchair, Lily slept with his hand still clutched in hers, her breathing soft and steady. Leonard's lips trembled into a faint smile. "At least one heart still beats for me," he murmured. The oak-paneled study smelled of cigar smoke and leather, though Leonard had touched neither in weeks. He sat slouched in his armchair, blanket drawn up, feigning another fit of coughing when Charles barged in with a stack of papers. Charles didn't bother with small talk. "Dad, it's time." Leonard raised a trembling hand to his mouth. "Time for what?" he rasped. "Succession." Charles set the folder down hard on the desk. "The board is getting restless. Clients are asking questions. Investors are nervous. If you don't act, the company could crumble. Let me take over, at least temporarily." Leonard studied him. His son's voice carried a practiced calm, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of greed. The papers spread across the desk were transfer documents, power of attorney, sign-offs granting Charles executive authority. For a moment, Leonard said nothing. He coughed again, reached for his pen, and scrawled a shaky signature across the dotted line. Charles smiled thinly. "You won't regret this, Dad." But as the door shut behind him, Leonard leaned back in his chair, whispering to himself, "Oh, Charles, I already do." Within days, Charles stepped into his father's shoes like a man born for the role. He arrived at the downtown headquarters in a tailored Navy suit, shaking hands with board members, announcing, "My father is ill. I'll be running things now." Some staff murmured uneasily, but others clapped politely. Charles wasted no time. He fired 2 longtime managers for dragging their feet and replaced them with old college buddies. He ordered a company gala at the Charleston Marina, complete with champagne towers and a rented yacht, branding it a new era for Harrington Enterprises. Leonard heard reports through Henry, the lawyer. He said nothing, only nodded grimly. So this is what he wanted: power without responsibility. At the gala, Charles clinked glasses with investors. "We'll modernize. Luxury fashion, exclusive brands. My father was old school, but I'll take us global." Behind him, workers whispered, "Isn't the company already global? Why is he acting like this is new?" But Charles didn't hear, or didn't care. He was intoxicated with control. Meanwhile, Nathan disappeared for 3 days. When he returned, he strolled into the mansion with a fresh tan and a young woman draped on his arm. "Dad!" he called loudly, barging into the sick room with her still clinging to him. "This is Madison. She's amazing." Leonard's eyes narrowed. The girl couldn't have been older than 22. "Pleasure," Madison giggled, kissing Leonard on the cheek. "Nate's told me everything. You're like super inspiring." Nathan winked. "She's a model. We met in Vegas." "Vegas?" Lily stood in the doorway, arms folded. "While Daddy's sick, you're gambling." Nathan rolled his eyes. "Relax, Lily. I was networking. And look, I won big. Enough to treat Madison to a shopping spree." He held up a wad of cash like a trophy. Leonard coughed into his handkerchief, hiding his disgust. "This isn't winning, son. It's drowning." Later that night, Leonard overheard Nathan in the hall, arguing with a creditor on the phone. "I'll get you the money, okay? My dad's loaded. Just give me time." Leonard closed his eyes. The vultures weren't circling. They were already feeding. If Nathan burned money in casinos, Vanessa drowned it in boutiques. She strutted into the mansion one afternoon with 5 shopping bags, tossing them onto the couch. "Daddy," she cooed, pulling out a designer handbag. "Don't you think this looks classy?" "I have a brand deal tonight, and I want to look perfect." Lily snapped, "You're using Dad's illness to boost your followers." Vanessa pouted. "It's awareness, Lily. People look up to me. If I share our story, they'll be inspired." "Or entertained," Lily muttered. Vanessa ignored her, spinning in front of the mirror, lips pursed for selfies. She posted a caption later that night. "Life is fragile. Cherish your loved ones. Shaka family. First, Chak blessed." But while thousands of strangers left heart emojis, Leonard's heart cracked quietly upstairs. Even my pain is just content to her. And Evelyn, his wife, his partner of 40 years, grew colder by the day. She avoided his sick room entirely, telling the staff, "The smell of illness makes me dizzy." She spent her afternoons with her wealthy friends, sipping champagne at luncheons. In whispers, Leonard heard her say, "It's like I'm already a widow." One evening, Lily confronted her in the hallway. "Mom, Daddy needs you. Please, just sit with him." Evelyn sighed dramatically. "You think it's easy, Lily, watching the man I married waste away? I can't. It's too painful." Lily's eyes blazed. "It's more painful for him that his wife doesn't care enough to try." Evelyn stiffened, lips pressed tight, and walked away without another word. Leonard, listening from his doorway, felt his chest tighten. The woman he had once loved like fire was now only ash. Through it all, Lily never faltered. She cleaned his room, spoon-fed him soup, sang softly when the coughing fits seemed too much. She massaged his hands, whispered prayers over him, even brought fresh flowers to brighten the space. One night, when the house downstairs thundered with music from another of Charles's parties, Lily curled up beside him on the bed, her head resting on his chest. "I don't understand them, Daddy," she whispered, voice shaking. "Why are they fighting and spending when you're still here? Don't they see what matters?" Leonard stroked her hair weakly. "They see what they want to see, Lily. But you see me." She cried quietly, clutching him tighter, and Leonard knew in that moment that the test he had set in motion was already revealing its answers. Late one night, Leonard wheezed against his pillow, pretending to drift near sleep. But his ears caught everything: the muffled thump of music from Charles's party, Vanessa's laughter echoing from the poolside, Nathan arguing over money in the study, Evelyn's heels clicking out the front door as she left for another late dinner. He stared at the ceiling, tears blurring his vision. "My empire," he whispered hoarsely, "my family, all ash in greedy hands." But then he turned slightly. There was Lily, asleep on the armchair, her hand still clutching his. For the first time in weeks, Leonard allowed himself a true smile. "At least one heart still beats for me," he murmured. In the boardroom, Charles leaned back in the CEO chair, arms spread wide. "Gentlemen, we need boldness. Dad's old ways are outdated. We're launching Harrington Luxe, a fashion line, clothing, perfumes, handbags. We'll dominate lifestyle markets." An older board member, Mr. Whitaker, raised a cautious hand. "Sir, respectfully, our strength has always been real estate and hospitality. Expanding into luxury fashion carries enormous risk." Charles slammed his palm on the mahogany table. "Are you questioning me?" The room fell silent. Another director, Ms. Langford, spoke softly. "Perhaps we could form a subcommittee. Ease into it." Charles cut her off. "No subcommittees. We go big or we go home. I am the CEO now. End of discussion." When a handful of executives exchanged worried glances, Charles snapped his fingers at security. "You two, escort them out. If they don't believe in my vision, they have no place here." Gasps rippled through the room as guards moved forward. Mr. Whitaker stood slowly, shaking his head. "I served your father for 30 years. You're throwing loyalty away like garbage." Charles sneered. "Loyalty doesn't pay bills. Innovation does. Get out." That night, Leonard received the report from Henry. His chest felt heavy, though not from any illness. "Charles, you are dismantling in weeks what I built in a lifetime." Back at the mansion, Nathan stormed into the sitting room, his phone pressed to his ear. "I told you, I'll have the money by next week. Don't threaten me." He hung up angrily, tossing the phone onto the couch. Lily, who had been arranging flowers, looked up. "Nathan, what's going on?" "Nothing you'd understand," he snapped, pouring himself a drink. She frowned. "Is it the casinos again? You promised—" Nathan wheeled on her, eyes blazing. "Don't you lecture me. When Dad goes, I'll have my share. Then I'll pay everyone back and more." "Dad's not gone," Lily whispered, voice trembling. "He's still alive. He needs you now." Nathan scoffed, gulping his whiskey. He's half dead already. You're wasting your time babysitting. Leonard, listening from upstairs, closed his eyes. His son's words sliced deeper than any illness could. Later that week, Vanessa pranced into the parlor in a new emerald gown, twirling for the mirror. "Daddy," she said sweetly, popping her head into his room. "What do you think?" Leonard forced a weary smile. "It's lovely." "Good. I'm hosting a brand event tonight. They want me to speak about resilience, family, and, strength in hard times." She winked. "I'll tag you in the post. It'll go viral." Lily, standing nearby, stiffened. "Vanessa, he's not a marketing prop. He's our father." Vanessa rolled her eyes. "Relax. This helps the family image. When people think of the Harringtons, they'll think of glamour, not sickness." Lily's voice cracked. "You care more about hashtags than Dad's heart?" But Vanessa was already strutting out the door, phone raised high, lips pursed for another selfie. If Vanessa flaunted, Evelyn retreated further into coldness. One afternoon, she entered Leonard's room only briefly, her perfume clouding the air. She wrinkled her nose. "This room stinks, smells like sickness." Leonard coughed softly, averting his eyes. Evelyn clapped her hands for the staff. "Driver, security, move him to the guest room. This space is unbearable." Lily rushed in. "No, this is Daddy's room. You can't—" "Shut up, Lily," Evelyn snapped. "I am his wife. I decide." Two guards hesitated, looking at Leonard. He gave no resistance, still pretending weakness, though inside his soul burned. They lifted him gently, carrying him to the smaller, draftier guest wing. Evelyn watched with folded arms. "Better," she muttered. "At least I can breathe again." Lily's face flushed red with fury. "How can you be so heartless? He gave you this house, everything you wear, and now you treat him like trash." Evelyn's lips curled. "You're too sentimental. Wealth survives. Men don't." She swept out, heels clicking on marble. Leonard lay silently in the new bed, staring at the ceiling. "Evelyn, after 40 years, was it all just comfort for you?" Days later, news of Charles's reckless firings and Vanessa's spending reached Nathan. Fueled by anger and whiskey, he stormed into the company boardroom. "You're destroying everything," Nathan shouted, shoving the doors open. "You think Dad built this so you could play dress-up with the company funds?" Charles leaned back smugly. "Calm down, little brother. I'm saving this company from Dad's outdated ways." "Saving it?" Nathan laughed bitterly. "You're bankrupting it. The hotel division's bleeding because of your parties. The accounts are running dry." "Don't be dramatic," Charles sneered. "You've been gambling half your life. You're no better." That cut deep. Nathan's fist clenched. "At least I didn't fire the people who kept this company alive?" Charles stood, eyes flashing. "You want to challenge me? In my company?" The next moment, fists flew. Charles shoved Nathan, who punched back, sending chairs crashing. Board members gasped, scrambling out of the way. Security stormed in, dragging the brothers apart as they hurled curses. When word reached the mansion, Lily gathered her siblings in the living room, her eyes red with tears. Leonard, upstairs in the guest room, listened faintly through the floor vents. "Stop it!" Lily cried. "Do you hear yourselves? Daddy is still alive, still fighting, and you're tearing each other apart over his money." Charles scowled. "Lily, you don't understand business." "Business?" Lily snapped. "This is family. Daddy gave us everything, his life, his sweat, his love, and this is how you repay him? By clawing at his empire like vultures?" For a moment, silence filled the room. Charles looked away. Nathan rubbed his knuckles. Vanessa fidgeted with her phone. "If anything happens to him," Lily whispered, voice breaking, "God will not forgive us." She stormed out, tears streaming. Upstairs, Leonard wept silently into his pillow. "My Lily, my light in this darkness. The guest room where Leonard now lay was colder than his old master's suite. The curtains were thin, the windows drafty, and every night he heard the scurrying of mice in the walls. Evelyn had insisted on moving him here, saying the master bedroom smelled like death. But to Leonard, it was not the cold air that chilled him. It was the knowledge that his wife of 40 years could look at him and see only a burden. Still, he played his role. He coughed, groaned, and forced weakness into every movement. Only Lily warmed the room. Every morning she brought fresh flowers from the garden, setting them in a vase near his bed. She brewed chamomile tea and fed him soup spoon by spoon, humming softly between sips. She brushed his hair, cleaned his sheets, even read aloud from his favorite history books. One night, when his coughing grew too violent, she sat beside him and wept. "Daddy, I'll never leave you," she whispered. "If it takes every ounce of me, I'll be here." Leonard's chest tightened, not from sickness, but from gratitude. "You are the only one who stayed," he murmured weakly. If Lily embodied devotion, Evelyn embodied abandonment. 2 weeks after Leonard's diagnosis, she began dressing more lavishly than ever, bright silks, glittering jewelry. She spent entire days at spas and evenings visiting friends. One afternoon, she introduced a new driver to the household. Benjamin, a handsome man in his 30s with a gym-toned body and a charming smile. "This is Ben," Evelyn announced casually in the living room. "He'll be driving me to my appointments." Charles raised a brow. "We already have a driver." Evelyn waved him off. "Yes, but Ben is for me, personally. He understands my schedule." Nathan smirked. "More like understands your curves." "Shut up, Nathan," Evelyn snapped. Vanessa giggled. "Mom, you've got a boy toy. Admit it." Evelyn shot her a glare, but she didn't deny it. Upstairs, Leonard heard every word through the thin guest room vents. His hand trembled on the blanket. Evelyn, not even pretending anymore. That night, Lily went to fetch linens from the back house and stumbled upon laughter and whispers in the driver's quarters. She pushed the door open and froze. Her mother was on Ben's lap, half-dressed, their mouths locked in a heated kiss. "Mom!" Lily's voice cracked. Evelyn shot up, cheeks flushed, hair undone. "Lily, it's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "Daddy is upstairs fighting for breath, and you're here? Like this?" Ben scrambled for his shirt, stammering. I should go." He bolted out the door, shoes half on. Lily stared at her mother in horror. "How could you?" Evelyn's face hardened. "I'm lonely. Your father is practically dead. Do you expect me to waste my best years watching him rot?" Lily's voice shook with fury. "He gave you everything, and this is your thanks?" "Don't you dare tell your brothers," Evelyn hissed, "or you'll tear this family apart." "It's already torn," Lily whispered, and stormed back to the house. While Evelyn betrayed with her heart, Nathan betrayed with his greed. One morning he strolled into Leonard's room, whistling. "Dad, you'll be proud. I just closed a deal." Leonard wheezed. "Deal?" "Yeah. Sold that hotel downtown, Suncrest Towers. Made a killing." Leonard's eyes widened, but he quickly forced them half shut, feigning weakness. "You sold?" "Relax," Nathan smirked. "It's not like you'll be using it. Better I cash in before Charles runs it into the ground." Leonard turned his face away, throat tight. That hotel had been his pride, built brick by brick over decades. Unknown to Nathan, Henry the lawyer had already intercepted the sale by planting trusted buyers to reclaim the property. But Nathan, believing himself clever, celebrated with bottles of champagne. Soon after, he sold one of Leonard's favorite plots of land near the river. Again, Henry quietly safeguarded it in Leonard's name. But Nathan never knew. To Nathan, the inheritance was already his. When Vanessa discovered Nathan's sales, she exploded. "You idiot!" she shrieked. storming into the parlor where Nathan lounged with a drink. "That land was mine. Daddy promised." "Promised, schmomised," Nathan muttered. "It's mine now. I needed the cash." Vanessa slapped him hard across the face. "You selfish gambling fool!" Nathan shoved her back. "Don't touch me." They grappled, knocking over a vase. Chairs toppled, glass shattered. A maid ran to fetch Lily. "Miss Lily, please, your brother and sister are fighting." Lily rushed in, horrified. "Stop, both of you! What is wrong with you?" Nathan sneered. "Ask her. She's mad I sold property." "Because it wasn't yours!" Vanessa shouted, yanking at his shirt. "Daddy is alive!" Lily cried, tears spilling. "You're clawing at his wealth while he breathes upstairs. Don't you see what you're doing?" Her voice broke. "Daddy gave you everything, and this is your gratitude?" For a moment, silence fell. Vanessa turned away. Nathan stormed out, muttering curses. Lily sank to the couch, weeping. Upstairs, Leonard heard it all. His chest ached, not from sickness, but from sorrow. That night, Leonard lay awake in the drafty guest room. The walls seemed to press in on him, filled with the echoes of shouting, betrayal, and greed. He whispered into the dark, "Is this the family I built? Is this my legacy?" A tear slipped down his cheek. But then the door creaked open. Lily entered quietly, carrying a tray. "Daddy," she whispered, setting down warm broth. "I know you didn't eat. Please, try a little." She lifted a spoon to his lips, her own eyes red from crying. Leonard swallowed, then reached weakly for her hand. "You are my only light," he whispered. Lily bent down, pressing her forehead to his. "I'll never leave you, Daddy. Never." And in that moment, Leonard knew. The test had revealed not just selfishness, but a pure heart among the ruin. The Harrington mansion, once filled with elegance and laughter, had become a hollow theater of betrayal. Leonard listened night after night as Charles threw parties in the parlor, as Nathan whispered with creditors on the phone, as Vanessa stormed and shouted about property rights, as Evelyn's heels clicked out the door to meet her new driver. Each sound was a dagger. But one night, after catching Evelyn with Ben, Lily made a decision. She entered the guest room quietly, carrying a steaming bowl of broth. Leonard looked at her with tired eyes. "Daddy," she whispered, setting the tray down, "we can't stay here any more." Leonard's brows furrowed. "What do you mean?" Her voice trembled. "They don't care. Not Mom, not Charles, not Nathan or Vanessa. They're waiting for you to die, tearing each other apart. I can't watch it anymore. Please, let me take you away. To the village, to family who will actually love you." For a long moment, Leonard said nothing. Then he gave a weak nod. "Yes, Lily, take me home." The next evening, under cover of dusk, Lily arranged for the old chauffeur, Mr. Daniels, a man who had served the Harringtons for decades, to bring the car to the side gate. They packed only a few bags. Leonard's breathing was heavy, but he leaned on Lily's arm as she guided him out. "Sir, are you sure about this?" Daniels asked quietly, glancing nervously toward the mansion. "Yes," Leonard rasped. "Drive." The gates creaked open, and for the first time in months, Leonard left his mansion not as a prisoner of betrayal, but as a man seeking peace. Behind them, music thumped faintly from Charles's latest dinner party. None of the others noticed they were gone. By midnight, they arrived in Savannah, Leonard's birthplace. The air smelled of pine and river water, and the stars stretched across the sky unbroken by city lights. News traveled quickly. Leonard Harrington has returned home, sick and frail. By morning, cousins, uncles, and village elders gathered in the yard. Some brought baskets of fruit, others jars of soup, others handmade quilts. "Leonard, you built the community school," one cousin said tearfully. You gave my son a scholarship. Now we'll give back to you." Another elder clasped his hand. "We will pray for you. You are not alone here." For the first time in months, Leonard felt warmth, not the false warmth of staged affection, but real love. His heart swelled, even as he pretended to cough into a handkerchief. He turned to Lily, whispering, "See, daughter? Here, even those with little give more love than your mother and siblings ever could." That afternoon, the elders brought a local herbalist named Mateo. He was tall and lean, with streaks of gray in his hair and a satchel of roots and herbs slung across his shoulder. Mateo studied Leonard quietly, then turned to Lily. "Leave me with him." Lily hesitated, but Leonard gave her a nod. She stepped outside. The herbalist leaned closer. "Your eyes are too sharp for a dying man." Leonard chuckled weakly. "You see through me." "You are not sick," Mateo said firmly. Leonard sighed. "Number one never was. It is all a test." Mateo tilted his head. "A test?" "I needed to know," Leonard whispered, "which of my family truly loved me, and which only loved my wealth. So I asked my doctor and lawyer to play along. I pretended illness." The herbalist's expression softened. "And what did you find?" Leonard's voice cracked. "That my wife has abandoned me, that my sons are tearing apart my company, that my daughter Vanessa sells my legacy for selfies. Only Lily, only she stayed." Mateo placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then your test has done its work. You have seen truth." Leonard closed his eyes, tears seeping out. "Truth can be cruel." "But truth," Mateo replied gently, "is better than dying blind." That evening, Lily sat with her father under the wide savanna sky. The crickets hummed, and fireflies danced in the warm air. She set a bowl of yam porridge on his lap, urging him to eat. Leonard took a bite, then reached for her hand. His eyes glistened. "Lily, there is something I must tell you." She blinked. "What is it, Daddy?" He drew a long breath. "I am not sick." Her spoon clattered against the bowl. "What?" "It was all a ruse," Leonard continued softly. "The coughing, the weakness, the doctor's report. I am not dying. I wanted to see who loved me when I could no longer give anything. I wanted to see who would stay." Lily's mouth fell open. "You mean all this time?" Leonard nodded. Tears welled in his eyes. "Yes, and only you passed. You fed me, bathed me, carried me when I pretended I could not walk. You even brought me here, seeking a cure. But I did not need medicine, Lily. I needed to see your heart." Her eyes filled with tears. "Daddy, I don't know what to say." "Say nothing," Leonard whispered. "Just know that your love has healed me more than any treatment ever could." She threw her arms around him, sobbing into his chest. And for the first time in many months, Leonard held his daughter not as a dying man, but as a father, alive and deeply grateful. The next night, Leonard asked the elders to gather under the great oak tree. Lanterns flickered in the branches, casting soft light across the circle of relatives. Leonard stood tall, without Lily's support this time, his voice carrying strength. "My people," he began, "I have a confession. I was never sick. I was never dying. I pretended because I wanted to test the hearts of my wife and children." Gasps rose from the circle. He continued, voice steady. "What I found broke me, but it also gave me peace. My wife betrayed me. My sons tried to sell my legacy. My daughter Vanessa mocked my name. But one child, my Lily, stayed faithful. She alone is my light." Applause and nods of respect spread through the gathering. An elder woman rose. "You are wise, Leonard. Many fear death, but you used it as a mirror. And now you know who truly loves you." Leonard smiled for the first time in months. "Yes, And with that knowledge, I can begin again." Lily clasped his hand tightly, pride shining through her tears. The black sedan rolled quietly into the Harrington mansion's driveway at noon. The gates creaked open, the guards' jaws dropping as they watched their employer step out, not hunched, not coughing, not frail, but standing tall in a crisp navy suit. Leonard Harrington had returned. At his side, Lily carried a leather satchel and held his arm proudly. The guards whispered, stunned. He's walking. He looks alive." "Yes," Leonard said firmly, meeting their eyes. "Alive and stronger than ever." Inside, Vanessa lounged on the couch, scrolling her phone. When the door opened, she glanced up lazily, then froze. Her phone slipped from her hand with a clatter. "Daddy?" Leonard stepped forward calmly. "Good afternoon, Vanessa." She gasped, rushing to him, tears springing to her eyes. You're not coughing. You're standing. I thought Dr. Gaines said—" Behind her, footsteps thundered down the stairs. Nathan appeared first, earbuds in, jaw dropping as he pulled them out. "What the hell?" Charles followed, a tumbler of whiskey in hand. When he saw Leonard, the glass slipped and shattered on the marble floor. You're fine." Finally, Evelyn emerged from the hallway, dressed in silk, her hair perfect. She stopped dead when her eyes landed on Leonard, her face drained of color. "Darling," she whispered, gripping the wall for support. Leonard's eyes, cold as steel, passed over each of them. "Surprised to see me alive?" The silence that followed was deafening. By evening, the entire family sat in the great room. No music, no parties, no shouting. Just tension so thick it suffocated. At the center sat Leonard, strong and upright, Lily at his side. Beside him stood Henry Collins, the lawyer, holding a thick leather folder. Leonard cleared his throat, not in weakness this time, but in command. "I have called you here because it's time for truth." Charles shifted uneasily. "Truth?" "Yes," Leonard said. "I was never sick." Gasps rippled. Vanessa clapped a hand over her mouth. Nathan's face twisted. Evelyn's hand trembled on her lap. Leonard's voice thundered now. "I faked the illness. Every cough, every wheeze, every doctor's report. I did it to test you, to see who loved me when I had nothing to give." He paused, eyes sweeping across them. "And you failed." Leonard rose slowly, walking toward Charles. His son tried to hold his gaze, but faltered. "You, Charles," Leonard said, voice low and cutting. "I built this company with sweat, loyalty, and discipline. And what did you do the moment you thought I was dying? You crowned yourself king. You fired loyal employees who sacrificed decades for us. You squandered money on galas, parties, and yachts. You risked the Harrington legacy on foolish vanity projects." Charles's lips trembled. "Dad, I was trying to protect the company." "Protect?" Leonard barked. "You dismantled it in weeks. You were handed the keys to a kingdom, and you nearly burned it down. From this day forward, you will never sit in my boardroom again. Your inheritance is gone, wasted by your own hands." Charles's face crumpled. He dropped to his knees. "Please, Dad, give me one more chance." "Enough," Leonard thundered, turning away. Leonard's gaze locked on Nathan next. "And you, Nathan, my son with all the potential in the world, squandered. You gambled away your future, your dignity, and even tried to sell my hotels and land. Do you know what those properties meant? They were my pride. You didn't build them. You didn't suffer for them. Yet you treated them like poker chips." Nathan's fists clenched. I needed the money." "You sold your inheritance yourself," Leonard spat. "And thanks only to Henry's foresight, those properties are safe. But for you, they are gone. You have nothing left with me. You will find your own way in the world." Nathan's face darkened. "So that's it? After all these years?" Leonard's voice was ice. "Yes, that is it." Vanessa looked up desperately. "Daddy, please, I didn't mean—" "You," Leonard interrupted sharply, "turned my suffering into content. You used my name for hashtags, my illness for followers. You treated me like a brand, not a father. Tell me, Vanessa, when did I become just a prop for your vanity?" Her tears spilled freely now. I thought I was raising awareness." "No," Leonard said. "You were raising yourself. From this day, you inherit nothing until you prove yourself with real work. You will earn my forgiveness through action, not words. Until then, you stand with empty hands." Vanessa collapsed into sobs, clutching her phone like it might save her. The room went silent as Leonard finally turned to his wife. Evelyn's eyes darted nervously, her hands twisting in her lap. "And you, Evelyn—" His voice dropped to a deadly quiet. "After 40 years of marriage, after comfort, wealth, and devotion, you abandoned me. You left me in a drafty guest room. You told our children I stank of death. And worse, you brought another man into my home." Gasps erupted from the children. Vanessa's mouth fell open. Nathan swore under his breath. Charles stood. "Is this true?" Evelyn's lips quivered. "Leonard, please, it wasn't—" "Don't," Leonard snapped. "I know. Lily saw. You paraded your affair under my roof while I lay pretending in weakness. You humiliated me. You betrayed me." Tears streaked Evelyn's cheeks. "I was lonely. I thought you were dying. I needed—" "You needed pleasure more than loyalty," Leonard cut her off. "You have 24 hours to leave this house. Pack your things and go. From this day forward, you are no wife of mine." Evelyn collapsed to the floor, wailing, "Leonard, please, forgive me." But Leonard's eyes were cold steel. "Mr. Collins, ensure she leaves peacefully." Henry nodded firmly. The room was heavy with silence, broken only by Evelyn's sobs. Leonard turned back to the center, his expression softening as he looked at Lily. "And you, my Lily." His voice cracked now, not with anger, but with emotion. "You were the only one who stayed. You fed me, bathed me, sang to me. You carried me when I pretended I could not walk. You even brought me home to Savannah, where I remembered what love feels like. You, my youngest, were the only one who proved that love is not bought, nor staged, nor borrowed." He reached for her hand, tears in his eyes. "For that, everything I have left belongs to you. The company, the estates, the legacy, all of it is yours." Gasps erupted from the others. Charles staggered. Nathan cursed. Vanessa shook her head in disbelief. But Leonard raised his voice. "Effective immediately, Lily Harrington is the new CEO of Harrington Enterprises. The loyal employees you fired will return. The company will rise again under her leadership." Henry opened the folder, pulling out documents already signed. "It's done. The transfer is complete." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "Daddy, I don't deserve this." "You deserve more than I could ever give," Leonard said, pulling her close. Charles slammed his fist on the table. "This isn't fair. I'm the eldest son." Nathan shouted, "I worked for this family too." Vanessa cried, "You can't just cut us out." Leonard's voice thundered, silencing them. "You cut yourselves out the moment you betrayed me. Wealth does not blind me anymore. I see clearly, and what I see is this. Only Lily is worthy of carrying this name." The three siblings slumped into stunned silence. Evelyn sobbed quietly in the corner, and Leonard, with Lily's hand in his, stood tall once more. The reckoning was complete. The following weeks at Harrington Enterprises were unlike anything the company had seen in years. The chaos Charles had unleashed began to settle as familiar faces walked back through the glass doors of the headquarters. Longtime employees, loyal men and women whom Leonard had trusted for decades, returned to their desks, greeted with warm embraces and relief. "Welcome home," they said to one another. "Finally, stability again." And at the center of it all stood Lily Harrington, her hair pulled neatly back, her eyes calm but resolute. Though she was the youngest, she commanded the boardroom with quiet strength. "Gentlemen, ladies," she said during her first meeting, "we will not chase vanity projects. We will not gamble with our father's legacy. We will do what Harrington Enterprises has always done best: build, create, and serve. Integrity will be our cornerstone again." Applause erupted. Even the skeptical board members nodded in respect. Leonard sat at the end of the table, watching with pride, his heart swelling. "She has the fire I once carried," he thought, "but she tempers it with compassion. She is better than I ever was." Meanwhile, Charles packed his office into boxes under the watchful eye of security. His friends, those he had hired hastily, resigned one by one when the money dried up. At home, he stormed into Leonard's study one last time, his voice shaking. "This is wrong, Dad. I am the eldest. It should have been me." Leonard met his gaze evenly. "Being eldest does not make you worthy, Charles. Your actions decided that." Charles's lips trembled. For the first time, his bravado cracked, and he left without another word. Nathan disappeared into the background of Charleston society. The gambling dens that once welcomed him turned their backs when they realized his pockets were empty. One evening, he called Leonard from a motel outside the city. His voice was low, broken. "Dad, I don't know what to do anymore." Leonard sighed heavily. "You chose this path, Nathan, but if you wish to change, start with humility. Get a job. Build something of your own. That's the only way you'll ever stand again." There was silence on the line before Nathan whispered, "I'll try." Vanessa continued to post on social media, her captions growing more desperate. "Starting over, pray for me." Her once loyal followers dwindled as her designer wardrobe no longer replenished weekly. She visited Leonard one afternoon, mascara streaked down her face. "Daddy, I want to change. I want to prove myself." Leonard studied her quietly, then nodded. "Then do it, Vanessa. Work under Lily. Earn back your place." Vanessa's eyes widened. "Work? In the company?" "Yes," Leonard said firmly. "Not as a face, not as a brand, but as a builder. Prove you can stand on your own feet." Tears welled again, but this time there was determination in her nod. "I will." As for Evelyn, she left the mansion quietly in the night. No announcement, no farewell. Her jewelry and silks vanished with her, as did the man she called driver. For weeks no one spoke of her. For months she was not seen in Charleston society. And for Leonard it was as if she had been a stranger all along. He never asked where she went. He simply closed that chapter of his life and locked it away. 1 year later, Leonard stood once again in the boardroom of Harrington Enterprises, not as CEO, but as an observer. Lily, now referred to as Madame Harrington by employees, commanded the space with grace and clarity. Profits had doubled. A new hotel broke ground in Savannah, named the Lily Rose in honor of her devotion. Employees greeted Leonard in the hallways with respect, but he waved them off gently. "I am only a guest now," he said with a smile. At night he sat on the veranda of the mansion, his mansion again, sipping tea as Lily worked late in the study. Fireflies flickered across the lawn, and for the first time in years he felt peace. The test was painful, he thought, but it gave me clarity. I know now who truly loves me, and that knowledge is more precious than any fortune. The Harrington estate settled into its new rhythm. Charles found small work at another firm, always bitter, but slowly humbled. Nathan disappeared into modest labor, struggling but alive. Vanessa worked under Lily's strict guidance, learning responsibility, one task at a time. Evelyn remained a ghost, and Lily, she became the heart of the empire. Her employees adored her, her investors trusted her, the city respected her. One evening, Leonard stood beside her on the balcony of the headquarters as the skyline glowed in the distance. "You've done well, my daughter," he said softly. Lily looked at him with tears in her eyes. "I only followed your example, Daddy." "No," Leonard smiled, pulling her close. "You surpassed it. You proved that love is stronger than greed, that loyalty is greater than inheritance, and because of you, the Harrington name will live forever." They stood together, watching the lights of Charleston flicker, father and daughter bound by truth. And so Leonard's test came to an end, a test that cost him tears but gave him truth. His wealth did not save him. Love did. And though his family nearly destroyed everything he built, one daughter's loyalty restored it all. Because in the end, riches fade, power crumbles, and appearances vanish. But true love, real loyalty, stands eternal. If this story touched you, tell us in the comments where you're watching from and what lesson you would have taken from Leonard's test. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Flame and Fate Chronicles, where every tale reveals the truth hidden in the fire of betrayal and the fate that follows.